6th edition, that just sounds nuts, of Ask the Coach. This is our fortnightly session, 45 minutes, 6 questions. You can add more if you want to, where you get to ask the coach or people in the industry that know what they're talking about. We're very much a techie session today. So we know AI had to come up in there somewhere. I think we've got that as the last question. Right, Rob's had enough already.
I thought you said techie.
I'm off. I'll get the coaches to introduce themselves in a second. We have the 6 questions. This is 45 minutes, but if you can't wait around that long and there's one question that you specifically wanted to hear, so whether you're on LinkedIn or in Crowdcast here, vote on your question. So either put the number in the LinkedIn comment of which one you want to ask first, or you can come onto Crowdcast here, you can go to the questions box and you can give a vote. Must admit, people tend to stay for the 45 minutes, so we just do them in an order unless that changes. So happy to crack on with that. Right, now you know what's going on. Let's get the coaches to introduce themselves. So Justin, I'm coming to you first, just in case you might fall asleep on me.
Good idea. Thanks. I'm Justin Hillier, founder and CEO of Recruiter Insider. We're basically a feedback platform for recruitment agencies, but all feedback. So all your candidate client feedback throughout the hiring process, post-placement, as well as internal feedback from your employees around what they feel about the company, onboarding exit surveys, well-being, work from home check-ins, diversity inclusion surveys, brand market perception surveys. We do absolutely everything. And we're about to add performance reviews because, we haven't done enough yet. So anything feedback related, that's the home of it, Recruiter Insider.
Fabulous. And people are going to hear your Australia accent, but you've literally just moved to the UK this week, haven't you? So
I have. So if I fall asleep halfway through this, just, shake the laptop or yell out to me or something. I landed on Saturday and, jet lag is real and it sucks. So I'm actually sitting on a bed at the moment. I'm in an Airbnb, so I can actually just have a little bit of a nap here if I need to. But landed 6 days ago, so I am struggling. And I'm going to say data, not data, just a heads up.
No, we warned you about that. We said it's data here. I didn't even know what you were talking about.
Data here.
And you said data. I was like, what's data? Okay, anyway, moving on. Rowena.
Hi. Oh, hi. Thanks for having me back.
Yes.
Hi, I'm Rowena Wilding from Wilding Marketing, and I work with recruitment companies and other companies to teach you how to do marketing that generates leads and creates ROI. It's as simple as that, really.
Fantastic. And yes, we're having you back because you were our Meet the Expert for January. Masses of tips, lots of learning on there. We'll get the link in to the chat so that people can go back and get 45 minutes of just you. Wonderful. And a first with Robert Garner, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Yeah, hopefully you invite me back and I won't be that bad. But you never know. Set you up. But what do? I don't do as much as Justin does, but I make recruitment websites. So I run a company called Abstraction Labs. We only make recruitment websites, really good recruitment websites. I make them with Angular and .NET and C# and all these other kind of different technologies and stuff like that. I used to work in recruitment, used to work in TA, had a job board, all that kind of stuff. But do websites. So that's what I do now.
Brilliant. Well, we're going to start with you. So let's focus you and the first question, which is, what's the difference between a job ad and a job description, and why does it matter? That's Rowena. I've gone wrong already. It's Rowena's question. That confused you, didn't it? It's Friday. We'll get away.
I wasn't ready for that.
Hi.
So Rowena's first question on that. I even wrote it down. Got the order as well, everyone. I'm lost it today. I really have. Right. Okay. So let's just get Rowena's details up there for 5 seconds so people can get her. The links are in the chat as well if you want to connect with our coaches. So start again. What's the difference between a job ad and a job description, and why does it matter?
Okay. So I want you to Picture yourself sat on the sofa watching the TV and the advert break comes on. What is your favourite advert that comes on? Think about the ones that stick in your mind. Think about the ones that have really resonated with you. Very often people think about McDonald's adverts that usually really kind of make people laugh or really hit people emotionally, or they think about John Lewis adverts with some gorgeous storytelling in there. So I want you just to picture for a second a BMW advert. When BMW wants people to buy their cars, what they don't do is put someone on the screen to say all of the things that are included in the car. They don't say how they've made the car. They don't talk about the way the engine works. They don't give you a technical specification. Have you ever seen a TV advert that does that on anything at all? Probably not, because nobody would remember that and nobody would be enticed by that and nobody would enjoy that. What they do is they focus on the benefits of owning a BMW. They talk about the way you're going to feel when you're driving your BMW. If it's a 4x4, they show you how adventurous your life is going to be driving across the Grand Canyon. If it's a family car, they give you pictures of joyful children or sleeping babies, because, you know, this family car is going to sort out all of the problems in your family. They show you how you're going to feel and how much better your life is going to be when you own that BMW. And that there is the difference between a job advert and a job description. We try and connect with people on an emotional level when we do adverts. A job description is a full list of all of the requirements of a job, everything the job entails, all of the skills and qualifications that a candidate might need if they're going to be successful. The key word there is candidate. When you put a job advert out, you don't have any candidates yet. What you're trying to do is attract people who don't even know they want a new job yet. A job ad is there for the step before you have a candidate. It attracts people by, instead of giving them a long list of all of the things that the job entails or telling them paragraphs and paragraphs about your company, what you do is you focus on the things that are going to entice them, the benefits and the way they're going to feel, their aspirations, their emotional connection with their work. So if you want to create a job advert that actually attracts people, that really sells the job, instead of giving them all of the technical specifications, what you want to do is focus on how it makes them feel. And that is how you attract passive talent and talent who are, you know, the best talent on the market that we're always talking about. You entice them, you just give them just enough to draw them away. And another analogy that I often use as a mom of three is, if I was going to talk to someone about becoming a mother for the first time, what I would not do is tell them about nappy changes or sleepless nights or the rows with your partner or the pain of breastfeeding. I wouldn't tell them any of that. What I would do is describe how it feels to hold your brand new baby in your arms the first time, or what it feels like to pick up a crying baby and have them immediately soothed by your presence, or how it feels to watch them take their first steps, or how it feels when you watch them flourish and say their first words, and which, you know, when it's mama is the most beautiful thing in the world. That's what I would do to sell motherhood to them. That's what you want to do with your job adverts. And just to round off, I'm going to give you a couple of really great examples. If you want to go and look at some job adverts that are brilliant, go and check out Carew Kids. Go and check out Innocent, who are the bastion of all things marketing. And if you want a recruitment example, go and check out Evo Talent. All of them have nailed their job adverts.
Yeah, you're spot on there. The amount of adverts that I see, job adverts, and it's a list of things, and it's just not enticing in any way, shape or form. But you mentioned McDonald's there, and that's what sprung to mind when you said what's one, because they've got the teletext one running at the moment. And it prompts discussion as well, because you've got some people, I got it straight away, because it just says that, yeah, we've been using free range beef or whatever it is since you were booking holidays on here. And then you've got other people sitting there, and like my daughter at 25 going, what the hell's that? I've got no idea what that is. So again, that feeling of going back 30 years or however long it is, and you were trying to book your holiday on teletext and waiting for the screen to come round again, and the first sort of World Wide Web, but it wasn't. But bringing back all of those feelings of that excitement is exactly what it needs to do. And of course it doesn't a lot. Justin, you got something to add to that?
I do. You know the biggest problem with job ads today?
Go on, go for it.
They all sound the bloody same.
Yes.
There's no difference from one to the next. They're clearly copy paste, and the worst thing is we're starting to see Chat GPT bloody write them. Get real. Like, seriously, stop that. It's embarrassing. 20 years I've been looking at job ads and trained companies way back in the day when job boards first started. I worked at a job board way back in the day. And yeah, it was all the same crap that I still see today. It's mind-numbing. I actually wrote this cool trick I did. I wasn't allowed to post it, unfortunately, but there's a thing with the brain that you can actually write the first letter and the last letter of a word, and every letter in that word can be jumbled, and you can still read the whole entire text. I wrote a job ad like that one day, and I wanted to post it, and I wasn't allowed. I'm like, it'll stand out.
Definitely.
People are afraid to do something different. Do something different.
Something different. The one that sticks with me the most, they were looking for people that were very high-level mathematicians, and the whole job ad was they had to work out the solution to this maths problem, and the answer was the telephone number.
Nice.
So therefore,
Brilliant.
If you can work it out, call us.
Goodwill Hunting kind of style.
Brilliant, because it cut out all those people that weren't good enough straight away.
Nice.
So yeah, be a bit different. Love that. Thank you, you two. Justin, I'm going to keep you on there. We'll focus you for the next question, which is, what impact does providing a better candidate experience actually have?
Yeah, look, it's funny because the key word in that question is actually. Because looking at brand perception and marketing and the benefits of reputation and all that stuff, it's nothing tangible. So I've actually had a look for those who aren't aware. We collect this feedback from candidates and clients to measure the impact of the candidate experience, and I actually just pulled off before we jumped on here last year's data around two really key points of what we measure, and that's the consultant's engagement with the candidate at that first interview. So when they're positioning the job, talking about the company culture that they've got that candidate in mind for, that job that the candidate's applied for, telling them about the hiring process, etc. And all of our scores, so there's 5 questions we ask at that stage of the process, and it's scored out of 100. So every question they 5-star rate. There's a half-star differential. So it's 10 points of difference. All questions are weighted equally out of 100. Very, very simple math. But having a look at the results from last year here in the UK, when the consultant was scored by the candidate at that stage of the process, 95 to 100, it converted to placement 10.7% of the time. Doesn't sound like a lot, but when we have a look at what happens when it was 90 to 95, it drops to 7.5%. So if you're scoring 95 plus just at that first stage of a consultant, you actually got a 42% better chance of filling that job with that candidate than if you're scoring below 95. But here's where the real impact happens. So the consultant, they'll pitch the job and put the candidate forward, and not a huge amount of influence over the outcome, although it's critically important. Who has the greatest impact on the candidate experience and the outcome is, unsurprisingly really, is the hiring manager. Mm. So we have the candidate also review the hiring manager after the interview, and oh boy, are they bad. We should stop calling them hiring managers and just people who can't interview, because they have no idea. It's kind of a long title, but when they are scored 90 to 100 last year, they converted to placement 41% of the time. Yet when they score 80 to 90, it drops to 33. When they score 70 to 80, it drops to 20. So the difference between 80 to 90, 90 to 100 is a 24% better chance of filling that job. So if you're putting candidates forward to hiring managers, I hope every recruiter watching, listening this now and later is preparing the candidate for the interview. But can you please also start preparing the hiring manager? Because they're really bad at what they do. They don't know how to interview. It helps you have a better prepared hiring manager and candidate, which means a better conversion to placement. So the impact of the candidate experience is very real. We see it every week, every day, every outcome. So the impact that a candidate experience has is directly to your bottom line. If you're not getting this right, you're making less placements, and your client is actually losing out on the talent you're putting in front of them. And they sit there thinking, you're not sending us the right people, where in fact it's the hiring manager not able to do their job effectively.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's a critical thing in our industry that we can have influence on. Like you say, we can make a
100%.
difference. Some
100%.
agencies used to just call us and say, okay, can you go in and train the hiring managers in this company? We'd go and do a course on it, because they wouldn't sell the company, they wouldn't sell their team themselves, they wouldn't put themselves in that position. They would expect the candidate to be selling themselves. And it's pretty, well, certainly in a candidate market, it's always the other way around. They've got so much.
Yeah, so it's funny you say that, because the two questions hiring managers consistently fall down on, and they've done so for 3 years now that we've been measuring this key point. It's the same two questions consistently every quarter that they fail on, of being able to describe the culture of the company and how the candidate would fit in, and the benefits of working for that organization that hiring manager already works for, and why he'd want to work there. So they've never scored over 90 on those two questions.
Right.
Yet what I still hear today is that when a hiring manager or an employer goes back to the agency and says, oh, that candidate's not quite right, it's always based around something cultural. They're not a culture fit. Yet the hiring manager can't describe it in the first place. So how would you know it's a culture fit? I just want to throw the pen down every time. It's so frustrating. So we've got case studies of our clients taking their hiring managers on training exercises, taking them through how to do all of this, how to interview, what's a pitch, how to pitch it, and drastically improving conversion to placement, literally from 0 to 100%. Like, there's a case study we have, it's 0 conversion to placement, fill rate, to 100%. And a massive improvement of scores from 52, I think it was, up to 96 out of 100.
Brilliant.
I totally agree with Justin there. I used to work in house for a couple of like media owners and advertising agencies, and the hiring managers were so bad. We had to separately train them. We put together a whole kind of hiring manager training program. They just didn't know the benefits, the culture, all the little kind of perks and things like that. And they just weren't selling the role and the company to all these people, all these great candidates that we're getting in, and you're just losing great candidates. And I know it can be hard as a recruiter to try and have that difficult conversation, but maybe it's a bridge with the kind of talent acquisition teams to bring that up and then pass it on to the hiring managers. But
I mean, that's the consultant is all about. I mean, you've got to consult, you've got to tell them the good and the bad, haven't you?
Yeah, and as I say to all of our clients, we provide all these reports to take back that shows data. I said it, Angela. I really want to say data. I did. That shows them all this data. So it's actually not you saying that the hiring manager is bad at what they're doing or falling down in particular areas. It's the candidates that are having that experience with them. All you're doing is delivering the message, and the hiring manager can't really argue with it because it's there in black and white.
Yeah, and you share this on your LinkedIn thread as well, don't you? So go and click on Justin's LinkedIn so that you can get that information. You can then have the conversation. You can share it with an HR person or whoever you're working with. Say, look, this is the impact it can have. Why don't we do something about it? That would be wonderful. Let's see if we can move that dial a little bit this year. Brilliant, lovely. Okay, let's go to question 3 then. What practical steps can I take myself to improve my website, Robert?
Yeah, I guess I'll try and field this one then, I guess. But
it is you, isn't it? It's your question. I've got it right.
Yeah. I was joking. Only because of the beginning bit. But yeah, so I mean, I think a lot of people kind of look at their recruitment websites and be like, oh, it's so technical, it's too technical for me. You know, once it's up, I'm just going to kind of leave it there. But there's so many things you can do as a marketeer, as a small recruitment agency owner, as even kind of consultants that you can do to just help improve that website, and whether it's a candidate experience or a client experience or kind of pulling up the search rankings and things like that. So I guess I'll preface this to if you've got a recruitment website, whether it's on a a low code platform like Wix or Squarespace or GoDaddy, or if it's a WordPress website or something a bit more kind of complicated, you've probably got access via like the content management system to certain parts of it. So hopefully you should be able to, you know, adjust bits of the website. So I'd say one of the first things you could probably do is kind of backlinks. So backlinks are kind of links of your website on other websites. So you can draw up a list of, say, maybe like 10 to 20 of your kind of like closest competitors that you always come up against, and then put in their homepage URL into, you know, the Google search engine and see where their URL is coming up. And it will come up in, you know, various kind of directories or blogs or kind of news outlets and things like that. And then you can add your company details and your company website to those directories, or get in touch with those blogs and offer to write kind of a guest blog for them, or get in touch with those kind of news outlets and see if you can kind of push any kind of like press releases their way and things like that. And things like that will show Google you're a more kind of legitimate website. It's like you're a more trusted website. There's other websites all over the web that are kind of linking back into you. So something like that is completely free to do, you know, probably take you maybe half a day to do. But yeah, we'll kind of build up your website a little bit. I'd say also kind of like call to actions. So make sure on kind of each of your pages there's like a call to action. So you don't want someone landing on your website and going through the pages and scroll to the bottom of the page and not know where to go. You should be kind of like telling them where to go on your website. So if a candidate lands on your website, you know, maybe have like a candidate page that's prominent to them. So you kind of click into that and they're like, oh, okay, looking at the candidate experience page and all that kind of stuff. And then you're like, oh, okay, at the bottom of the page, I'll direct them to the jobs page. Oh, great, they're on the jobs page, they're looking at job ads, all that kind of stuff. They don't find anything that's relevant for them. And then at the bottom, you can have like a contact us page. So even if they don't find a job ad on there that's relevant for them, you still direct them to the contact us page. And then maybe they'll give you a call or drop you an email and say, look, this is my background. Have you got anything that's relevant? I didn't see anything on your actual kind of on your website. So make sure you take them on a journey, and each of the pages has like a call to action as well. Responsive design as well. Make sure your website looks good on you know, on your laptop or on, you know, big kind of desktop screens, and also on mobiles and tablets and all that kind of stuff. And you can actually check what your website looks like yourself. So if you're looking at your website in Google Chrome, if you right click on your website, there'll be a little kind of toolbar that crops up, and you can click inspect. And then on the right hand side, there'll be kind of like a little panel that pops up. And there'll be a little icon at the top left of that. That's like a little mobile phone screen and a desktop computer, laptop computer, and you click on that, so it's blue, and then you'll see your website kind of pop up, and there'll be loads of different kind of like phones, like iPhone or Samsung or tablet, and you can view your website on all those different mobile devices to see that it, you know, make sure it does look good on all those different things.
Showing this as we're doing it, because as you were saying it, I was like, really, can I do that? Now I'm just looking at that. I can see all the stuff on the right, but actually that there was no point in me doing that, because when you can't see it, it's down the bottom here, inspect, isn't it? But you can't see all the inspect bits, so apologies for that.
Yeah, it's on the right hand side, there's a little inspect panel. Yeah Okay, all the code there and all that. It
was worth a try, but yes, I've now found it, so thank you. So right click.
There's also something there called Lighthouse, Google Lighthouse. So on the top panel, you can see how fast your page is, your website is. So if you kind of scroll along that top panel, there'll be like network and console and all that kind of stuff. And at the end, it will say Lighthouse.
Lighthouse.
You click into that, and then click Analyze Page or something like that, or Load Page or Analyze Page
Load. Got it.
Yeah, and it will show you how fast your website is. So you want it above 60. And it will show you kind of accessibility, the SEO, the best practice, and you'll want those above 90 probably as well. You probably want to score out 400 of probably 300 as a minimum. And it will kind of give you little kind of things you can kind of change as well. And you can pass it on to your developer if you're still talking to your developer. Other things, Google Analytics, make sure you've kind of got that integrated with Google Analytics. It's literally one line of code you could put in, or your website developer can put in. And that will show you, you know, how much traffic you're getting, the most popular pages, where your traffic's coming from. And then I guess things like accessibility as well. You know, make sure you've got, you know, high resolution images. Make sure any videos have got subtitles. Make sure you can kind of tab around your screen. So if you click on your website, you know, press the tab button and make sure it kind of goes on to all the buttons and the fields and all those kind of things. So yeah, there's a few kind of free things. Maybe the Google Keyword Planner as well. You can kind of look that up, and that will kind of give you some ideas of kind of the search terms that candidates and clients use to find your services. You can kind of type those in and see where you rank in those, and write
This
blog
is
posts
brilliant.
around those things.
Because we do get people approaching us saying, oh, I've done a research on your website and here's some things. I'm glad to say we're 91 on our SEO. So well done, Charlotte, on that.
Whoever did your website did a great job.
64 on best practices. So that's not too bad, is it? That's in the things. But performance, we've got a bit of work to do. Right. Thank you for that. Love that. Okay, so I've certainly learnt something from there, and I will be running that back, and we'll be looking at all of those details, because you don't know if you don't know, do you? So again, someone saying that and actually just being able to click on it and do it while you were talking was fantastic. So some great practical steps there to make a difference straight away. Right, that was question 3. We're halfway through. Oh, yeah, we're about right on time as well. Perfect, guys. So here's our opportunity to say thank you to Job Adder, who sponsor the Ask the Coach sessions, as well as our Meet the Expert. So really appreciate that sponsorship, so that we can bring you this. We've had over 110 coaches on Ask the Coach, and I'm glad to say over 60% women as well. So we get to hear all the voices out there of who you should be listening to in the recruitment industry. Right, we're coming back to you, Rowena. So this now is around the Google rules that are happening next week. Am I right? What impact are the new Google rules about sending bulk mail likely to have on smaller companies? Because it was an SME that was asking. You can do all of them, but start with the smaller ones.
Okay, well, first of all, before we start the conversation in full, I just want you to flip your perspective for a second from being a recruiter. So take that hat off and just put your person hat on, just a regular human being in the world. Now, I don't know about you, but every day I wake up and, one of the first things I do, because I'm a millennial, is pick up my phone and I'll jump onto LinkedIn, and then I'll jump onto my emails, and I'll be greeted by a couple of hundred emails that have come in throughout the night and into the morning. My inbox is constantly flooded with marketing messaging. I get a lot of them, and the vast majority, I would say probably more than 90%, I never open. They just sit there and I ignore them.
Yeah.
Because companies work really hard to get our data or data, depending on which country you happen to be in. They really want us to be on their mailing lists. So they'll offer us discounts on the first order, or loyalty schemes, or points, or prize draws. Just give us your email address so that we can decide how often we speak to you. That's what people want, right? They don't want to be they don't want to be reliant on third-party platforms. So we give them our data or data, and then in return we are absolutely inundated with emails. Now, as recruitment companies, we almost, our users don't even have a choice. If they want to know about the job, if they want to apply for the job, we get their data, and suddenly that person is on a list forever. And that means they're going to get an email every few days about a job they have no interest in and are a terrible fit for, totally unsuited to them. But hey, if you send it to enough people, someone is going to know somebody who's going to refer it to somebody, and eventually you'll be able to fill that job, right? As a user, this is horrendous. We don't want this. We don't want our inboxes filled with emails that have nothing to do with our everyday life, that are never going to add any value to us. These changes are about protecting email users, and that's who Gmail and Yahoo care about, right? The people who have inboxes with them, they don't care about the people sending the emails so much as they do the people receiving them, because those are their users. But the thing is, they are our users too. We should care about them just as much. We want their experience to be good. So I've said all that to preface the fact that these changes are a good thing. They are not a bad thing. They are an opportunity for us to treat people better. And the better we treat people, the better people are going to feel about us. And the better people feel about us, the more likely it is they're going to want to carry on when working with us. So there are some technical things that you need to know, and there are some non-technical things that you want to know. This is all about higher deliverability and lower spam. So the technical details really are, like, for a techie, pretty simple. This is about self-authenticated emails. This is about ensuring that your domain is authentic, that you have a DMARC policy record set up on your domain in your DNS. If you don't do self-authentication via your domain, that's fine. You just need to use the CNAME or TXT records, easy peasy. And if you don't know what any of that means, it is not a problem, because your web developer does, or your email marketer does. Like, these are jobs that take 5 minutes. You just need to reach out to an expert and ask them to do it for you. Work with the people who created your website, and they'll do it in no time at all. It's not something to panic about, and it's not something that you need to go and read blog post after blog post to find out about. This is, honestly, the technical side of things is really simple. But then there's also some non-technical things that it's worth knowing about. And in all honesty, there's a very good chance that your marketing person has been saying these things to you for a really long time. So in terms of the kind of less technical stuff, first of all, not sending every email to every single person on your mailing list. We should never have been doing that anyway, but if you're doing that, then you need to stop doing that, because it was always spam. Now it's just going to actually get marked as spam. So that's going to hurt your reputation and hurt your deliverability. Make sure that what you are sending to people is relevant to them. And that means really understanding your data, having really clean data, and segmenting that data so that when you are sending bulk emails, i.e. emails to a larger group of people, that it is relevant to them, and they're not going to immediately go, I'm ignoring that, or spam, or unsubscribe. You want to engage people with your emails. So make sure that what you're sending is relevant to the people you're sending it to. As I mentioned, clean your data. Like, again, this is something that it shocks me every time I work with a recruitment company, how people just let their data spiral out of control, when actually if you clean it regularly, or if you do it as you're going along, and you make sure that your data is well tagged and kept up to date, that data is the most powerful thing you own. That's really all a recruitment company is. It's the people that it has, and it's data. That's all you've got. So look after it, treat it like the most important thing, the most important asset you have, because it is the most important asset you have, other than your actual recruiters. And then the third thing, which is, I guess, bridges the gap between techie and non-techie, is you have to now have a really easy unsubscribe option on every single email. People should not be scrolling to the bottom of an email and reading the small print and clicking unsubscribe, and then being taken to a form where they have to say which emails they want to unsubscribe to and which ones they want to stay subscribed to, and then being taken to another form where they have to say why they want to unsubscribe. It needs to be a one unsubscribe, and it needs to be easy to find. And the reality is, again, this will help you. If people are qualifying themselves out, your data stays clean. That's what you want. If people have to search for an unsubscribe button, they are more likely just to click spam, because it's quicker and it's easier. So make it easy for people to unsubscribe, because then the emails you send are going to be to an engaged audience, and the emails that people don't want aren't going to get labeled as spam. So, I mean, ultimately, if you are spammy, you are going to be seen as spam. If you are sending things in a well-intentioned way, because, hey, this is a job that I have a section of people who might be really interested in, send it. It will do fine. It's about putting the user first, which is what we should have been doing in the first place anyway. So every time you now think about sending an email, I just want you to put your user hat on instead of your recruiter hat, and think, how much would this piss me off if this landed in my email inbox? And just think about that, and you won't go far wrong, really. It is actually quite simple.
It is a good way of looking at it. Now, I was reading about this yesterday as well, And I saw a bit that said it's just the Gmail accounts that when from Google, it's only when you're sending them to Gmail accounts, which a lot of people it wouldn't be because it would be their work email address. So what is that right? Have I got that right?
It's Google and Yahoo that have brought in the who have brought in the rules. I mean, everyone else will not be far behind because that's how it goes. So this is good practice to do now. But actually, in reality, it's not that the majority of your emails go to Outlook because those are your clients, not your candidates. Your candidates are very likely to have a Gmail or Yahoo email address. Hotmail will be next, and Outlook will not be far behind. So if you don't mind just being listed as spam on all Gmail accounts, then fine. But just remember that Google is the biggest player on the market, so you probably don't want to put yourself in that box. But I mean, ultimately, this is going to hurt your deliverability and your digital reputation forever. So it's probably worth paying a little bit of attention to what your marketers are saying now, because I belong to a couple of recruitment marketing networks, and there's a lot of frustrated marketers in there going, look, we've been saying this to our recruiters for years, that they can't just send emails to the entire database and hope that something sticks. Like that, it can't be that way.
Lots of food for thought there, but glad they're doing it because it is important, isn't it? Robert, you want to add something?
I was just going to say, a lot of businesses probably have Google Workspace as well and Gmail Business. So you're going to need to bear that in mind. And most people either have that Gmail Business or they have a Microsoft Outlook. So yeah, bear that in mind for those as well.
Definitely. Right. Okay. Hiring managers are back, Justin. So okay. Oh, I've got you all on your own. Bear with me. I clicked the wrong button. Apologies for that, everyone.
Okay, I'm happy to take over.
You can take over. He'll even lost the edges as well. I thought I'd try a new button. I shouldn't have done that. Right.
What does this do?
Next question. Hiring managers are sometimes their own worst enemy. How can I get the hiring manager to work with me and not against me? So we had your data from earlier around the impact it can have in the interview. What else can we do to get them to work with the recruiters and not against them?
Kidnap them, hold them at gunpoint for as long as possible until they do as they're told. That's probably not the right answer you were looking for, but it's the best suggestion. I actually think it does come back to the data, to be perfectly honest. What the information I shared before in terms of the impact to outcome, you need to show them something they haven't seen before and something they don't know. And if you're showing them industry insights as to here's what's happened over the last 3, 6, 9, 12 months, whatever you can get your hands on, and our clients can get their hands on a lot of this information, showing them something they haven't seen before and actually making sure and asking the simple question, do you want this to happen to you? No. So let's make sure we get this right. So explain, and this is all about, and I mentioned it earlier, preparing the hiring manager for the interview as much as you prepare the candidate for the interview. So I would actually have a session with them outside the hiring process before it even starts. Can you pitch me the culture of your organization? If a candidate asks you, what's your answer? What's the benefits of working here? What do you tell a candidate if they ask you that question? Describe the job to me. Run through the questions that a candidate is likely to ask them and get them to pitch it back, because the chances are they're not going to be able to do it. So you need to prepare them before the process even starts and show them that this is the impact this has on the outcome by showing them historical data of, if you don't get this right, I put someone in front of you, we both fail. And the candidate then gets a poor interpretation of the process. They get a poor perception of you and your company's brand, and they're unlikely to come back to me for any other jobs as well. So everyone loses. So I think the key point really is show them something they haven't seen before. Show them information that actually highlights, if you get this wrong, this is the downside. And it's not, it's they're small margins. They're actually small margins. So they need to nail it. But show them something they haven't seen before in terms of evidence as to why it's so important.
Well, this is great as part of, you said that even before the process starts, to actually have that discussion with any new hiring manager. You can share this and share, this is how we work, this is what we know works. So let's set this up before we start so that we're successful. And they're going to go with that, aren't they? The problem is the ones that you've been working with for quite a long time
100%.
really haven't been helpful.
No, it'll build that trust with that hiring manager as well. Here's what we know. Here's what we know impacts outcome. So the culture match is so important for the candidate and for the employer. So how are you going to describe your culture to the candidate? What's it like to work here? Because if we think about the last 3 years as well, that question's failed over the last 3 years because no one's actually sat down and understood what the culture of an organization is today, because people work from home, office, or they're hybrid between the two. So how do you actually describe a culture when not everyone is in the office all of the time and people work from home? So there needs to be a better discussion internally with employers. And this is what a consultant should be doing of consulting, saying, hey, how do you actually position this? What is your culture now? Because it's not what it was 3 years ago. The ping pong table, the Friday lunch, none of that matters anymore. I'm at home. I've got my own Friday lunch sorted. Thank you very much. No one cares about that anymore. So, and what's the benefits of working for the organization? Again, the Friday lunch, all this kind of stuff doesn't matter anymore. Benefit, you can work from home 3 days a week if you want. Great. So, are you going to describe that in the interview? No, it never comes up. Why not? Why not? Why is that not something you discuss? People want to know this information. Sharing more is better than sharing less. So,
yeah, and you want that actually in an honest hiring manager that maybe says some of the downsides as well. I know I had 7 hours of interviews to become a recruitment consultant, and they tried to put me off so many times. But if that person's still there at the end of the process, they really do want the job.
Resilient.
Yeah, that's what we need. So think about the competencies for the job, and it might not be that, but it works well for recruiters. But yeah, for whatever you're hiring, how are you assessing that? But you've got to still put the good stuff forward. That's the bit that's missing, isn't it? They're
100%. And I think it's the understanding of what is different today than what it was 3 years ago. I don't think people are positioning the culture or the benefits of working for an organization differently today than what they were 3 years ago. They haven't actually sat down and gone, hey, the world's different. Why aren't we pitching it different?
Yeah, where are we going with this? Brilliant.
Yeah.
Last question then. Thank you, Justin. Robert, you're up. We've all been told how our AI will change our industry. But I've seen this came up at a session yesterday afternoon. I've seen some right howlers recently. Can the coaches share any AI fails they've seen so we can call them out? Okay, I've got one in my head that we were talking about yesterday straight away, but what about yourself?
I mean, nothing I've done would have failed.
Yeah, well, obviously.
AI, machine learning. I just like to put it out there now. I mean, everything's perfect. But I don't know, I think the ones that jump to mind, I guess the most recent one would be probably the DPD. If anyone saw that in the Guardian, DPD, the delivery service, which is probably a slight step up from Every. They had a chatbot on there. I think it was an AI chatbot, maybe with some machine learning, taking in the data and kind of improving itself. But they had a chatbot on their website, and someone had jumped on there, hadn't had their package delivered or had been delivered to the wrong address, and they were trying to get through to customer support, and just getting nowhere with this chatbot. It was just the opposite of what a chatbot should be, just turned into a horrible experience for the user, for the visitor. So the guy just thought, I'm going to wind up this chatbot, and went to see how far he could push it. And I think he managed to get the chatbot to swear, which should just never happen, because you don't know who's using this chatbot, how old they are. Made this DPD chatbot make a poem about how bad DPD was, and if you go onto the Guardian link, there's a whole load of screenshots that he was just doing, but he just broke this chatbot, like just put it to tears. Like the chatbot quit after this. It was ridiculous. So I think that DPD ended up putting down the chatbot because I guess they just hadn't implemented it properly, or the model they trained it on just wasn't up to scratch, really. And then probably one of the first ones I heard of was probably about 10 years ago. I remember Amazon had a foray into recruitment and AI. I think in about 2014, they set up a UK developer team ahead of like this massive kind of hiring push they were going to do. And the idea was to kind of train this kind of AI model on the kind of candidates that would be good for Amazon, whether that's working in the head office or the factory or the warehouse, whatever it may be. And they kind of, threw loads of great CVs into it. They're all kind of analysed on these 1,000 data points and stuff like that. They ended up building this for about 3 years, and then I think got to about 2017, and they just had to scratch. The project was just a complete failure, and they just got rid of it. And I think one of the key things was it was kind of feeding on bias. So, for example, the engineering team, it was 95% male. So it was going, oh, okay, only men are good for this team. So then, maybe a female engineer CV would come in, but like, oh no, you're not a man, or you're not using the language a man would use, so you're not going to be right for this team. So it was a brilliant idea, years ahead of its time, but it just didn't work because it was working on that flawed data. It's working on how you train an AI model on that kind of previous data, and not necessarily trying to play in that human-centric approach of, what future data, what do I want this team to look like? What do we want this team to turn into? How are we going to progress the organization? So those are a couple of the major ones. And then just beyond, just people asking for websites from me and asking me to plug in AI or chat GPT, which I can't do.
That's the problem,
I can't
isn't it?
plug in AI. There's not a button I press there.
No, well, let's bring us all back, because we've hit our time, but I'm happy to just share a few, because we need to be aware of this, and that bias issue is so important. AI is just gathering all the knowledge that's out there, so if the knowledge is dodgy to start with, it's not great. Let me put glasses on. This is the one I had this week. So good old email, how to increase recruiter productivity by 40% or more. So it's going to grab your attention as a headline. But the first sentence was, the consensus is that firms will reduce the number of hires and the number of recruiters. Projections for growth are much lower this year. The XXX projects a GDP increase of less than 1.5%. So straight away, they're quoting a stat that's meant to be from a project, but they've forgotten to put what it's in. And therefore, to me, that's totally wrong. They're just making it up. And they've left the XXX in there, showing that they were just making it up in the first place. And you're just like, what are you doing? You're ruining our industry. So was there anyone else that wanted to share one?
I want to share something that might be a little bit different than a failure I've seen. I actually don't think agencies have to worry too much about AI for at least the next 3 years at all. And Rowena actually nailed it as to why before. Because pretty much 99% of agencies' data sucks. AI needs quality data to work properly and to get the most efficiency out of it and for it to perform as to what it's meant for. Yet agencies don't have quality data to begin with. So until you get that right, guess what? Forget about AI. It's not going to help you one little bit.
Yeah, we got a little way to go, haven't we? We're all nodding on that one. Well, thank you to my coaches today, Rowena Wilding, Robert Garner and Justin Hillier. We'll be back again in 2 weeks with an African special. So all our guests actually are from South Africa, but we're going to be talking about hiring and recruitment in the whole of Africa. So if you've got any questions about that, if you're working over there, if you want to work over there, then feel free to get those questions into the coaches. And next week's daily workout is actually human-centered hiring. It's all about that. We've got Glenn Martin kicking that off on Monday morning. So yeah, we're going to leave the AI for a little while and we'll get back to the humans. Let's do that instead. Have a wonderful weekend, everyone. Speak soon. Bye-bye.